This video of the border rush in El Paso, taken last week by the New York Post, may end up being Joe Biden's undoing. But now the president of Mexico is offering Biden an election year lifeline, or, as I see it, political extortion.
With the ear of the White House, President Lopez Obrador proposed his fix, that the United States commit $20 billion a year to poor countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, lift sanctions on Venezuela, end the Cuban embargo, and legalize millions of law-abiding Mexicans living in the U.S.
If they don't do the things that you've said need to be done, then what?
The flow of migrants will continue.
Typical socialist. When America had a strong president who knew how to exercise leverage on trade, Mexico agreed to the Remain in Mexico policy with no similar strings attached. Joining me now, Tom Homan, former acting director of ICE under President Trump, also Fox News contributor, and immigration attorney Alan Orr, former president of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. Alan, how is it that Donald Trump had the border fairly under control by 2019? How did that work?
Yeah, I don't think it was under control. I think that COVID played a big role in it, and Title 42 played somewhat of a role in it.
2019.
Yeah, even then the numbers were still a little bit atrocious. I mean, the issue is there were still people who were coming to the United States using non-traditional methods to enter the United States. So the border has never been a solution because Congress has not acted on it since the early 80s. Is
that your whole argument right now? I mean, that's just, I like you, Alan. I'm so glad you came on tonight. But that's just, to me, that's, I feel bad for you making that argument because it's not true. The flow in 2019, Tom, I'm going to ask you a tough question next, but is he right? Is the flow in 2019 still pretty high and it's just immigration reform that we need?
Under President Trump, we have the most secure border in my career. I started with Border Patrol in 1984. You don't have to take my word for it. Go to cbp.gov. Look at Border Patrol's own data. The illegal immigration was at a 45-year low. Illegal immigration was down 83 to 90%, depending on what time period you look at. Unprecedented success. And that's just a fact. Anybody can look at the data.
Now, the chief of the U.S. Border Patrol was asked what keeps him up at night, Alan, by CBS. Let's watch his response.
What's keeping me up at night is the 140,000 known gotaways. That's just what we know.
Is that a national security risk?
If we don't know who is coming into our country and we don't know what their intent is, that is a threat. And they're exploiting a vulnerability that's on our border right now.
Alan, do you agree with that assessment?
I do agree with that assessment, but I think the evaluation is a little bit different. There were almost 2 million people who got away in 2000. And so as we look at the numbers, the way to control the number of people who are getting away that we saw at the end of Title 42, when you end harsh enforcement at the border and give people a method to come into the United States, a way to address the people who are asking for asylum, you don't have the gotaways in the numbers that we've seen.
Tom.
You secure the border, you don't have any, you got less gotaways. Look, again, the numbers they speak for themselves. I mean, I'm just talking to the data that's available. We got just short of 2 million known gotaways. Look, we've arrested 340, more than 340 just on the southern border off the terrorist watch list. 4 years under Trump, 11. Hell, this administration got 18 2 months ago. In 1 month, they got 18. Trump, 4 years, 11. No, an open border drives more illegal immigration. It overwhelms the Border Patrol. When you overwhelm the Border Patrol, this humanitarian crisis, where 70% of agents are off the line daily, that's when the no-inspector terrorists are going to come in because there's no patrol on the border. They're going to take the route of least resistance. They're not going to try to get a visa or a plane ticket because there's a vetting process. But if you pay the cartels a little extra money, you can be part of that 2 million gotaway.
Alan,
and I think the way to get
go ahead.
Yes. I think the way to get away from the cartel is sort of making a legalized pathway for these individuals to get through. The concept that when there was a President Bush or there was an Obama or any other of the former presidents that the border was 100% secure is just a falsehood. That's not something that we can ever reach in our society because we are not like Europe. We don't have a small border. We have a very vast border. We need to have a better way of managing the border and manage the influx of people. And part of that is dealing with the push, but also part of that is managing the border better.
Well, let's see how the border was managed in Texas. This new footage that I don't believe has been shown before from the New York Post, we see people literally using bolt cutters to get through the razor wire at the border. So they were clearly breaking the law, destroying other people's property before they even step foot in our country. So how is this acceptable in any way, shape, or form? I mean, I don't think any of the three of us would allow anyone that we didn't know to break and entering in our homes on a daily basis. We certainly wouldn't allow it. We'd try to get help to stop it. But we're supposed to say this is all right. Alan, I think Americans, and it's not political at this point, this is just practical. The whole world will want to come here, right? And presumably, none of us would want the entire world to come here, even if the entire world wanted to come here, because that would be totally unfair to the people in this country.
Well, I don't see it quite that way. I see it as, you know, this is a holy week, so I invite as many people as possible to my church because there's plenty of good room for good people. And so in that same capacity, I think because we're such a good nation, because you've made this such a good nation, and Tom has made this such a good nation, I'm working to make this such a good nation, there will always be people who want to come here. In the same veins that Ronald Reagan sort of spoke about his love for immigration in his parting speech, America has always been that beacon. And that's not something I want to turn away from. I think we need to manage it better to meet the jobs that we have available in this country, to meet the lowering birth rate, and to sort of meet the humanitarian need. Does everybody get asylum? Absolutely not. But we can do a better job of management.
Asylum.
So let's try management first.
Yeah, well, Tom, not everybody is kind of getting at least, you know, temporary asylum. What is it, 89 or 95%? Real quick.
Yeah, nearly 9 out of 10 never get relief from U.S. courts. They don't qualify. They don't show up in court. But I want to address the last comment about the cartels. You know how I deal with the cartels? You wipe them off the face of the earth because they've killed more Americans than any terrorist organization. President Trump would declare them a terrorist organization. He'll wipe them off the face of the earth. That's how you deal with the Mexican cartels.
Tom and Alan, good to see both of you tonight. Thank you.